Here is an ADA chart. This is ADA price action on the daily chart right here. This is what we're looking at. Consolidation right now above the 20-day moving average. When I'm watching ADA charts, I like to set expectations. And what I mean by that is I like to, in my mind, know historical context of how ADA moves, how Cardano charts operate in different landscapes. And the landscape that we're in right now is we're in this environment where Bitcoin just broke all-time highs. Crypto is entering this next phase of cycles, a bull cycle. The halving is not even here yet. I like to know what to really be able to anticipate from Cardano and ADA as I'm watching price. I want to know what's normal. So before we even dive into the technical analysis part, kind of what's going on with ADA, just zoomed in on this daily, I just want to make a note of something. Before I make the note, hit the subscribe on your way in if you're not a subscriber and smash the like button. But here's the note. If we go to Bitcoin, if we look at the Bitcoin chart right here, March 11th, Bitcoin breaking all-time high. That's the candle. I mean, that's the real candle that really just broke all-time high in a nice manner. That's March 11th. If we go back to the Cardano daily chart right now, we see I have it circled here or charted here, all-time high, March 11th. This is what ADA is doing. And I mentioned this in my last ADA video because the initial surface thought is, dude, Bitcoin's breaking all-time high and ADA's all the way down here. ADA's all-time high is all the way up here, right? And I mentioned this briefly in my last video, which is to say, yeah, ADA is down from all-time high, 75%, while Bitcoin's breaking its all-time high. But last cycle, when Bitcoin was breaking its all-time high, ADA was down also over 80% at the time. And that's that first bit of context that I need to understand where is Cardano in this cycle. And we're going to get back to this weekly chart in just a minute, but I want to go back here and I want to make a clear note of this earlier in this video. So here's last cycle. This is what it looks like. Bitcoin was breaking all-time high. I believe the date was November 16th. This is an ADA chart, by the way, but this is ADA on November 16th. Bitcoin's breaking all-time high. You can see ADA not even breaking local highs on this daily chart, and ADA just hanging out around 16 cents or so. And not only that, after that day, you can see the next daily candle, November 17th, had a little bit of a run up or whatever, but ended up being a red day. And not only that, ADA fell basically in the week that followed Bitcoin's all-time high. ADA actually fell 33%. That is important for me just to understand and know that. And so when we're digesting zoomed in charts and we're looking at price action for ADA right now, that's important for me to know. And I didn't go through altcoins and all the different altcoins that were trading back then, but there's I'm sure a strong possibility that there were altcoins that weren't falling and that were actually maybe rising with Bitcoin and doing certain things. So that's historical context in terms of how ADA price moves. Now we can kind of shift to talk about what's happening on the ADA charts. And as I've said time and time again, ADA, if we're looking at the weekly chart, it's incredible to see where it is right now from a structure standpoint. This bit of structure that we've been tracking, it's kind of, this feels like slow motion doing these technical analysis videos really for months now, waiting for this setup, because I just don't know. Like, I don't know what's going to happen next in crypto. I know the consistencies on this chart are insane. And last cycle at this moment, coming very soon, ADA breaks out to the upside. And what's unsettling is you just don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen next, everybody. I'm tracking the charts and the data, and that's all I know how to do. And then from there, I can anticipate and I can wait for certain confirmations. But if we're looking at the ADA chart, once again, we have such a similar setup, even just from the structure that formed last cycle. It was a higher high right here with this break of structure indicator going off. Right now, we have a higher high with a break of structure indicator going off. All the while, we have this lower high on the RSI, very similar structure on the RSI that we had last cycle. And really, if we actually look at the RSI, what I'm really looking for right now is to see if ADA can just make a breakout on this RSI, really popping up into overbought, right? Because that's the move. And if we look at this, it was this move right here on the RSI that was truly the breakout move for ADA. on the weekly chart, right? And that's what we're kind of waiting for, that breakout weekly candle for ADA on this weekly chart. So it's going to be very interesting if I can open up the RSI a little bit more just so that you can see it. It's going to be very interesting just to see if ADA can break this trend line, right? You can see back here, it would be very similar move to what happened here. What I do want to say is maybe it's not yet, right? We can see maybe some more days of consolidation, which we're about to visit on the daily chart, and then maybe we get the breakout, right? Going into halving or something. Maybe it can be this week. I think when looking at altcoins like maybe AVAX, I'm sure there's others that are moving right now that could be a potential signal that ADA might have some momentum in store in the coming days, but that will be yet to be seen, right? Until it happens, we'll continue watching it, and I'm going to show you on the daily chart what I'm watching for. But that's just it, right? So that's the weekly chart. That's kind of everything condensed into just a few minutes trying to explain where I see ADA on these charts. What I want to also make a note of is this, because I think this is a big deal. If we look at ADA last cycle in the very similar move, right? Even from the swing low to that area breakout where it didn't break out yet, we're looking at 160% or so. We go to this cycle, that swing low right here to this resistance area, we're looking at 80%. Do you see how the volatility of it all is just not as much? That's very simply a reflection of, I think, what we can anticipate for any coin. This is for Cardano, but this applies to Bitcoin. This applies to Ethereum. For this cycle, it applies to Cardano. Every cycle that a crypto goes through, the next cycle, there are just diminishing returns, meaning this. Last cycle, ADA from the swing low to all-time high saw like 17,000% gains. Diminishing returns means we're not going to see 17,000% gains from the swing low this cycle around. Swing low, bear market low to 17,000%, just to give you an idea. I do not think that ADA is going to go to 17,000%, $37 ADA this cycle. That would be $1 trillion market cap for ADA this cycle. As much as I want that to happen, that has never been what I think. And I'm pretty sure, even last cycle, I didn't say we're going to $1 trillion this cycle. But this is not what I think is the target for ADA. So diminishing returns, meaning, okay, and we talk about this all the time, what does a $10 ADA look like? That's a $350 billion market cap. That's more realistic, right? And then we're looking at from the bear market low to an all-time high of $10 speculatively. That's not my prediction, 4,600%. So that also gives a little bit more flavor to the zoomed out charts and kind of, I think, some needed context as we start zooming in. And here's where we start zooming in on daily. As a reminder, last cycle, Bitcoin broke all-time highs, ADA consolidated. I want to keep repeating that because right now there's in play some consolidation, but there's also some hopium for all you hopium enthusiasts out there. And I'm gonna show you what that looks like. All right, so all-time high, Bitcoin just broke all-time high. Here's an ADA chart. You can see this ADA pattern I've been tracking. I posted about it the other day. I see a $1.50 ADA target. And if we go to the chart, it's probably around $1.40, right in between $1.40 to $1.50. If the breakout happens closer to halving, the target would be probably closer to $1.50. But either way, $1.40, $1.50 is the range. But as you know, right, there's the upper trend line. ADA hasn't broken above the upper trend line. There is a lower trend line that is always in play, that is always available for ADA. And so just to give you an idea, lower trend line around 55 cents or so, big drop for ADA in this environment where crypto falls. Maybe it's fast capitulation. Maybe it's slow and steady, boring, just terrible consolidation for all of crypto. And ADA is trickling down into the 50s again, and we're touching that trend line. And, we might see the RSI really start falling down. Or maybe it's even just a quick wick that we just kind of saw back here. Maybe crypto has a day of just crashing. It's boom, right off the bottom, and then we're just cruising back to the upside, right? I don't know how it's going to play out. This is the structure that I'm watching right now, though. It's when something significant happens, I will watch it. But the other thing that I noticed on this is I like to just kind of, again, even on the shorter term, right? Meaning just look back at the current picture on the screen. I like to just look and say, okay, what's the rhythm? What's the flow of what's happening here? And you look here, And it's like, all right, swing high and then really, really big fall. And it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe swing high and really big fall, right? Back to the lower trend line. Maybe that does seem like the likely next thing. But for me, I like to just continue digging into the data. And if we look at this now, there's one difference, right? And for me, that would be this. When ADA had this move right here to that swing high, you can see kind of just escaping. Here's the 20-day moving average in green. And ADA just took off, right, to the upside. And it was a very big move. If we look at ADA, where it is right now, what's happening? Similar thing. Consolidation, pulling into the 20-day moving average. Consolidation, pulling into the 20-day moving average. And even if we look at the RSI, a little bit higher than where it was before blast off, but in a very similar area right now for ADA. And so that's why right now I'm kind of like, all right, there's kind of a case where ADA's cooled down now, right? Like, and there's a case where ADA might continue another power move to the upside on the RSI. All to say there's room to the upside on the RSI, but the key area I will be watching right now is the 20-day, because it's, yes, very similar area before blast off, but also this, coming out of overbought, what happened? ADA was in a very similar area before kind of this big fall, right? So we're in a very similar area on the RSI, whether it's before the blast off or kind of before a fall. So the one thing that I have is kind of this guiding indicator on the screen for me that I'm watching is what happens at the 20-day moving average. What's the interaction at the 20-day moving average look like for ADA? I think it's a really strong area of support to watch. I shouldn't say it's a strong area of support. It's an area that we want to see as support. And right now it's just around 70 cents for ADA. So not too far below where ADA is, and it can very well just kind of fall to the downside. But in terms of breakout to the upside, you can see how it could be playing out, again, for all those hopium enthusiasts. Just pulling into the 20-day moving average, seeing support there, pulling into the 20-day moving average, and maybe it will be days, right, where it needs to consolidate, and maybe weeks. But we want to see support at the 20-day, and then maybe the explosion to the upside. But as a reminder, everybody, this is what happened like the week after Bitcoin all-time high. ADA fell 33%. So I just want to make a note of it. If ADA falls through that 20-day moving average, and we're falling 20%, it would be normal for ADA not to have this breakout moment yet. And it would be really, really comparative to last cycle at this moment, right? As ADA is just kind of consolidating all above the 20-week moving average, because that's what it was doing at this moment last cycle right here, just consolidating, really waiting for this massive breakout candle that finally happened. So this is what I'm watching on ADA. It is what it is. I know AVAX, for instance, is moving to, or was moving yesterday. It was a really strong candle for AVAX. If you actually go look at the daily, and it's just kind of like, man, why is not ADA moving? And it's the same thing for me year after year, cycle after cycle. Altcoins take turns. Cryptos take turns. Oftentimes, though, it's very good to see other altcoins and other coins in general just make a move to the upside. It could be a signal. So that's something that is on my radar, the fact that AVAX did that. But we'll see what happens with ADA. Just wanted to give you some kind of targets to watch out for support, for resistance right around 81, like 80, let's just call it 80 cents, 80 to 81 cents for ADA, break out of this upper trend line. In general, that 77 cent area is also a big area of resistance. And then support for ADA, once again, right around 70 cents at the 20-day moving average. What happens there? Does it fail? If it fails, it's not like a bear market indicator. It's just more of a, okay, there's going to be some pain in the shorter term for ADA likely to happen. Consolidation, higher low is what we'd be watching for from this swing low. And then a real reset on the daily RSIs, daily oscillator to the downside, the real reset for ADA to make that next move to the upside. Maybe it is closer to halving. Who knows? This is what I'm watching, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Wanted to do just a solid Cardano ADA roundabout technical analysis. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like, hit the subscribe, turn notifications on. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.